Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is shifting paradigms. We've talked about this before, but there are always nuances, and I think it's a very interesting topic. So before we get started, though, let's take a moment to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding into your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells and your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, energizing all your cells, your electrons, your molecules, creating this brilliant beam of light from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together. Softly rub your fingers against your palms and feel the deliciousness of that sensation, the tickling, the tingling, and allow yourselves to become present right here, right now, in this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome. Good morning. So good to be here with you this morning. So we're talking about shifting paradigms, and this conversation is very exciting to me. Good morning, Roslyn. Welcome. Roslyn says, "Good. Hello, Core Connectors." And Jenny, welcome. So good to have you here with us as well. So welcome to everybody who's joining us today. We're going to be talking about shifting paradigms, and it's really in relationship to nature, in relationship to our connection with the universe. And part of this, there are two things that are shaping this conversation, both from a sustainability vantage point, and shifting paradigms was the shortest title I could create for this. Good morning, Tammy. Welcome. So good to have you here with us. So I just read an article about I'm trying to think what the more PC name was, but it was about human composting. And so that doesn't sound very appealing to me, that title, but when we die, that we have traditionally limited options about what happens to our body, right? So we either we embalm it with all kinds of chemicals, we put it in a wood or metal container that's in a hole in the ground that's typically lined with metal, and it sits there for eternity, or theoretically anyway. Or we put things in mausoleums, or we cremate the body and then maybe distribute the ashes or save the ashes. And if we think about this in terms of sustainability, it doesn't make any sense at all, right? It's using up a lot of land, or using up a lot of energy, using up a lot of resources, putting all this metal and wood and whatever into the ground. And we have finite resources on this planet. The planet is only so big, right? And so all this land and space that we eat up with things that we're trying to preserve in the earth, doesn't it make sense instead to do the ashes to ashes, dust to dust thing, to be part of the cycle of life, and allow ourselves then to be reintegrated into the system from whence we came? So I listened to a couple TED Talks this morning about about recomposting or reintegrating ourselves, our physicalness back into the environment when we die. And there's a woman who created I'm not certain, I've forgotten the name of the company that she developed. But anyway, what they do is they have a human composting thing where they create this, I don't know if it's actually like a container kind of thing that they put hay and sawdust and or wood chips, and over the course of, I think, like 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, the body completely decomposes, including the bones and all, and what remains is this really, really rich soil. And you guys knew Maggie. This is my buddy Jewel, and she's been asking for love, so now she gets to be part of our thing this morning. Anyway, if for people to be connecting to this whole idea, what happens with the soil afterwards is you can come pick it up in a pickup truck, which is really interesting, right? Or you get, I think, 64 ounces of the soil, and the rest of it can get donated to a forest that is a preserved forest. So it's helping to replenish and revitalize the forest. And I think it makes 3 cubic yards of compost, one body. So, in thinking about this, I was thinking, wow, there has to be a real shift in our relationship to death in order for something like this to really take hold, right? Because we are predominantly a culture that avoids the whole notion of death, that we live in spite of it, we ignore it, we try to avoid it, we try to forestall it and avoid it at all costs, rather than recognizing that death is an essential part of living. And Jenny says, save the soil and save the earth from global warming, according to Sadhguru. So thank you for that, Jenny. Yes, well, we're looking at saving the soil and saving the earth. And one way that we can give back to the planet is to give our physicalness to the enhancement of our physical environment, right? There is a rising trend in what they call green funerals, but this kind of solution is pretty fascinating, right? That we could actually then be part of the forest, and that we could be the part of what is nutrifying and emerging as trees and foliage. And how cool is that, right? Versus being put in being pumped with all kinds of chemicals and being put in a box that is trying to fight against nature, right? It's like the last, in terms of paradigms, it's kind of the last attempt to dominate or to hold nature at bay, right? Really interesting. So what's the shift of paradigm? That we're part of a natural cycle rather than that we're here to dominate and control nature. And I just think that that's such an interesting thing to think about, like what these are. It may not be the greatest contribution that we can make to nature in our lives, but it's not insubstantial, right? To be able to thank the earth with a gift of our physicalness, to be an active part of the cycle of life, rather than trying to somehow outlive it by preserving ourselves. It's kind of crazy that we do that, right? I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of nuts. And part of it, I understand the connection and attachment to place, to be able to go to a cemetery to theoretically visit somebody who's no longer there. I mean, remains are there, but their beingness, I don't imagine, is hanging around at the cemetery. Anyway, I just thought that was very, very an interesting thought. And the other thing that spurred this yesterday. Good morning, Lisa. Welcome. It's great to have you here with us. We're talking about shifting paradigms, and one was our conversation about human life and death, and being part of the natural cycle of life, and that there are burial or after death solutions that are emerging that are much more in harmony with the nature of our planet, part of this cycle of life. So that I thought was a pretty cool thing. You can find TED Talks about that. If you look up human composting, for example. Anyway, really interesting. And then the other thing was that I had this incredibly inspiring conversation yesterday. So Jenny says, I wouldn't want to die. I'm guessing die. I wouldn't want to die and dump into a pile of dead bodies. So here's the thing. Each body seems to be individually composted. And so it's not, I mean, what is soil anyway? So it's not that there's anything that is recognizable about the body. The body truly merges into the soil or is transformed into the soil. So yeah, I agree. That's kind of a gross image. And, we have this thing about our individuality too, right? Like if I turn into dirt, then, that, and not just dirt, but soil. Jenny says stardust. Yes. Well, so if I turn into stardust, or if I turn into ashes and we scatter the ashes, which by the way, isn't necessarily particularly ecological, and it consumes a whole pile of fuel. So when we look at the ecology of it, there's a similarity. There's not much of a discrepancy between traditional burial and oh my gosh, I just lost the word. Incinerating our bodies, right? So a lot of us have thought that, if we burn ourselves up and we become ash, that, that's more ecological, but that's not necessarily the case at all. Anyway, to be able to become fertile soil for the growth of new things, that's kind of a beautiful thing. And at the same time, we have a very strong attachment to the individuation of ourselves and our loved ones, right? So, if I'm soil that's being put in the forest, what do I do? Go visit the forest? Well, I would think that might be a good thing to do, or maybe I plant a tree in that soil, and new life emerges, and then I go visit the tree. So Rosalind says, sometimes it feels like sadness when something is dying. It's also the rebirth of new growth. And absolutely, I mean, a lot of times it feels like sadness when something is dying, something or someone. And because we have a cultural paradigm around death, that death is something to be avoided, and that we are separate from nature. And when we can, we could create amazing ceremonies to be reconnecting on such a profound level to nature, right? So Lisa says, I was just reading about regenerating the national forest with human remains. Well, I think that that's what this woman is working on, that there's this preserved forest, and that's where they're no longer human remains. It is soil, just beautiful, beautiful, rich soil. And what a gift to be able to have our lives contribute actively to the cycle of life. Kind of a cool idea, right? And I certainly like that idea. Sign me up. I'm ready to sign up for that. Now, the other thing that I was starting this conversation because of is a conversation that I had yesterday with this guy who, his name is Zach Weiss, and he started an organization called Water Stories. And I don't know about you, but I'm very alert to the idea, the thought that the next big thing is going to be water wars over water, because of the scarcity of water. And a big reason for the scarcity of water is, well, there are a bunch of reasons, but one of the reasons for the scarcity of water is the way that we have dealt with our natural environment. And go check out waterstories.com. This is, and watch the videos. This is singularly the most hopeful thing that I have seen relating to our ability to save the world, save the world for us living in it anyway. So over thousands of years, through human intervention with farming and all kinds of other things, we have managed to desertify, I think it's a third of the planet. And these guys are talking about, exactly, Jenny says life needs water to survive, exactly. So check this out, this is wild, because it inspired me so much. They're going to be creating a course that they're starting in June. I'm definitely going to be there for this course. So here's the deal. It's water. Nature has natural water cycles where water falls, it gets stored in the ground. The ground holds, is able to cool. The water is then brought into above the ground through plants. The plants expire. The humidity and moisture is added to the air. And when this whole cycle happens, it shifts condensation of water into clouds that then rain and nourish the earth. So there's this cycle. Without that cycle, winds come, fires come, droughts come. And we've been seeing an increase in all these things, winds, horrible storms or deadly storms, droughts, fires. We've been seeing all of this. And it's because we have so terribly disrupted the water cycles. So Jenny asks, what is the documentary called again? It's not a documentary, it's a bunch of little videos that are awesome. And you can find it on the website, waterstories.com. So go to waterstories.com, watch the videos. Watch the videos, find the animations about the water cycle. Because we have the ability to heal the water cycle. When we heal the water cycle, it's healing the soil, it's healing the water tables, it's healing the whole climate cycle of condensation and humidity and clouds and rainfall and then the soil capturing the water again and building the water table, and this whole cycle that is the natural cooling mechanism of the earth. And the way that they discuss water is that it is the blood of Mother Earth. And so just speaking that, I resonate so profoundly with that. Like I can connect with that on such a deep, deep, deep level, to recognize that we have been extracting the blood and organs and bones of Mother Earth. And this is the paradigm that we get to move from, where the earth was just a whole bunch of resources that we got to utilize that and use up and implement. And so we have been essentially raping and pillaging the body of Mother Earth, including her blood. And Jenny says the cycle of life is messed up because the cloud seeding, government cloud seeding. Well, I think it's even more messed up because of what we've done to our landscapes. By not understanding how these cycles work, and as we move into recognizing that we are part of the larger cycle, that's the theme today, is cycles of life, I guess. So, and Jenny says, not thinking wasting it matters. Exactly. We as humans, we created this whole notion of waste. Nature doesn't waste anything. Humans waste. Humans create things that are throwaways. Nature is a loop. Nature is a cycle. Nature recomposes. That's what I think the name of the company might be, is Recompose, not Decompose, Recompose. That I was talking about with the human composting. I think it's called Recompose. Anyway, waterstories.com. That's it. I think, Dido, I'm just going to click on it. And yes, that is the website. So Dido, thank you as always for being on top of following these breadcrumbs that I get to share. So please, if you go into the chat, Dido posted waterstories.com. Honestly, go look at particularly the water cycle videos, because it will completely enlighten you as to how, by restoring the water cycles, we get to shift the climate. We get to create a healthy climate and turn deserts into gardens. And so another paradigm that we live with is this notion that humans can only do harm to the planet. And the thing that we can do to better the planet and ourselves is to do less harm. Well, this paradigm is that by restoring the water cycles, we can actually do good and help to support Mother Earth in what she wants to be doing, like in her natural cycles. So what's happened is we've stripped her of her natural cycles, and now we get to restore and renew them, and it changes the climate, and it normalizes the climate, and it eliminates the rampage of fire and flood and mudslides and drought, all of that, because there is an endless supply when we live in harmony with nature, when we support nature in her natural systems. Then there is this life-giving harmony. And what's happened is that we have just done this extraction waste paradigm, where we're separate from nature. That's the foundational paradigm, is that we're here to conquer nature, rather than that we are of nature. We are of Mother Earth. We are her children. We need her to be able to survive. And when we can nurture, love, and respect Mother Nature, Mother Earth, then the whole family is happy. You know, we don't have to be in this domination control paradigm. We get to move into oneness and harmony paradigm. That's the biggie. So Jenny says, thank you for sharing to spread the word, going to post and tell everyone I know about it. That's exactly what we want to do, Jenny, is we want to start a global movement. In fact, what I came up with yesterday is an idea to do a water summit to educate people. So the irony here is that many of the things that are necessary to be able to put these restorative practices in place are against the law. So for instance, somebody who had a farm and implemented these practices was being fined $10,000 a day from the time they made the transformation in their property to the time that they would restore it to its original form, which is insanity. And so the thing is that there are many, many laws on the books that prohibit the kinds of things that we need to do in order to turn things around. We've had this big focus on carbon credits, and carbon is anywhere from 4 to 25% of the issue, where the water cycle is the balance of it. If we can address the water cycle, we can turn the whole thing around. And in short time too, like in one season, you can see a difference. One season, and there are certain acupuncture points on the planet where we would be able to see radical change within the course of one season. So we're not talking about something that happens 20 years down the line. This is something that we can start implementing and see immediate change with. And Dido says, I remember seeing a story about reforestation in Africa that changed the local climate. So it rained again. Trees can create clouds and rain, so it all reharmonizes. Exactly. And also creating water bodies where the water has an ability to sink into the ground, where it can create aquifers or regenerate the aquifers. So Jenny says, awesome idea. Good morning, Susan. So good to have you here with us. And Jenny says, I'm in. So this is a really important thing. Please do share it. I'm going to be interviewing Zach for the Sustainability Now podcast, and we'll be having a movie night. Seriously, guys, this is the singularly most impactful solution for turning things around in the world that I have yet encountered. And my whole thing is finding solutions, finding positive ways to shift and transform our beingness on the planet, to be able to address the environmental issues, the social justice issues, the climate issues, all of this. And this is such a powerful response. This is such a powerful place to play. So what we get to do in building this movement, and that's totally what I'm up to, is to be also changing legislation. And so the way that legislation will change is when we have awareness of the legislation, like things that were put in place with good intention, for instance, to save marshlands, prohibit the rehabilitation of marshlands. So there are nuances, there are things that need to be changed radically, where where we need to be able to support the practices that are going to transform our environments in a positive way. So and there's an urgency to it. So in order to meet that urgency, it's necessary for us to really find a movement of people that are aligned and active. And the more awareness that more people have, the more, how could you not be aligned with this? unless you're a company like Nestle that is stealing the water from communities to make bottled water. There's so much politics. The marshlands, what are marshlands? Marshlands are areas where there's water and green and light, all kinds of wildlife theoretically. But what has happened is that a lot of the marshlands have been co-opted and modified so that they aren't really functioning as marshlands. And marshlands also help to purify water and detoxify things, and we pollute all this stuff. So you got me on a roll, guys, but this is, please check out waterstories.com, watch the water cycle videos, and it will be, I hope that it is as transformational for you as it is for me, because I'm on this bandwagon. This is, and this course that they're going to be doing is going to teach people how to be consultants for, to help people learn how to transform their own land. So whether you have a backyard garden, or you have a plot of land, or you have a farm, or you have a big expanse of land, or you want to be an activist in terms of helping to shift policy, there are places for all of us in this movement. And this is something that we can all engage in to make a difference on the planet within the window that we know we're threatened by. We have, I guess it's less than 10 years now to be able to turn things around. And we can start seeing results from this in the course of one season. And so people have been fined and jailed for practicing these practices that have been restorative to our lands. So we've got to get that changed. And that's not just in the US, it's kind of a global thing. And a big part of it is the movement to take ownership of water, to privatize water. And there are lots of movements happening, but we need to bring them all together to be unified, at least in this understanding of the shifts that we need to make in order to restore the water cycles. And I really, truly believe that that's the key. I've been looking for years, and I see this. It's not the only answer. It doesn't solve all our issues, but it solves some of the fundamental ones that will give us more time to be able to solve some of the others. So anyway, paradigm shifts, that's what we're up to. And one of the biggest shifts here is the shift of there's nothing I can do to I can make a difference. And one person can make a difference. And when we have a whole bunch of one persons together, we'll be unstoppable. So with that, I just am so grateful for our time together and for your engagement. And I really do encourage you to share that Water Stories thing widely. This is, let's build a movement together. Let's make this happen. Let's save the world. We can do it. Then this is the thing that's given me more hope than anything, as I've said. So anyway, I just want to say thank you. So much love and appreciation to you for these mornings and these engagements. And Jenny says, amen, sister. Yes, this is the real deal. And I'm so enlivened by the prospect that we really, truly can make a difference. So, in my search for solutions, I've battled a hopelessness that's been pretty persistent underlying all of my intentions. And this is truly, deeply, profoundly a hopeful approach. Anyway, until next time, I am Mira Rubin, and this is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page at 9 a.m. Eastern, and I invite you to check out all the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network, EWN One with the Earth, Enlightened World Living, and please, please, please share water stories. Dido says, wow, wow, wow. Thank you, Mira. Yes, so this is a drum I'm going to be beating for a while, because this is urgent and this is possible. So with that, let's shift our paradigms. So much love to you. Until next time.